Yo, back again with another episode of Cloudy Courtside Chat. Excited to bring you some news, some information, talk some hoops, some things that went on this past week, some rankings that may be shook up. Um, bring on my co-host, my mentor, my brother, Marlon Cloudy Jr.
Yo,
What's up, man?
just excited to talk a little basketball. Went out and saw games. Watched a couple more games on streaming. So, definitely excited to talk about some games that we saw, some matchups, and some things that we looking forward to happening next week.
Yes, sir. Well, speaking of games that we went and watched Friday night, we took us a little road trip, traveled down to Kirbyville, Texas, and we got to see our young protege, Octavius Evans, in action, coaching against one of the OGs of the game, and Coach Dwayne Joubert. Tell the people a little bit about the trip on Friday and what your takeaways were.
Well, first thing, we mentioned Coots. I think both episodes we've already recorded on this podcast, and just being able to see them again. They are. It looks like gearing up for another trip to the regional tournament, and I think trying to make a push to get Coach Joubert back down to San Antonio again and play in that Final Four. But we showed up to the game, and as we're walking through the door, we walked through the door at tip, and by the time we sit down, it's already 8-0 Coots, and
Yeah.
and, we knew what the Coons team was. Kirbyville, this is Octavius' first year there, and trying to establish some things. I got a quick story on him in Kirbyville later, but it's just you ran into a buzzsaw, with them, and
Hmm.
they jumped out on them. The one thing that we were watching, besides Coots and that press that they put on, was Octavius on the sideline, and I wanted to see, kind of how he's going to be responding, how his guys were responding, and I will say they never quit.
Yes.
The Purbleville team, they kept fighting. You can tell they were on demand, and just that Coons team is a different caliber. But it was good to see that they never quit. They kept fighting. They kept competing. And Coach Evans, he kept coaching on the sideline, which I didn't expect anything different from him.
No doubt. I swear you're looking at my notes because aside from talking about Coach Jew and his team, that was the next thing that I wrote down was Coach Evans and his demeanor on the sideline. Just watching him coach, you would not think that the score was where it was or indicative, or the game was indicative of what the score was because he was getting after it. Like you said, his kids, they kept playing hard, they kept getting after it. They just ran into a well-oiled machine that night. And speaking of well-oiled machines, you got to be doing it for a long time, and you have to be very good at what you do to get to the milestone that Coach Jew hit on Friday night, which is 600 wins. So shout out to Coach Jew,
Wow.
man. Go into that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy,
Congratulations,
man.
Coach. Yeah, I mean, we just spoke last week and recognized two coaches that hit 400 wins and talked about what it takes to, get to that level. And, here Coach Joubert is eclipsing 600. And it was special for us to be able to travel to that game. We had no idea um,
No.
that he was reaching this milestone. So to witness him being presented with that sign from the community and enjoying that moment with his squad, man, 600 wins. That's two state championships, 600 wins. I mean, you talking about a legend right there. I say in the making, but a legend has already been made, but he just hadn't hung up the whistle yet. So congratulations, shout out Coach Joubert and staff down there for eclipsing that milestone, and it's going to be a lot more wins that he's going to put out. I guarantee you that.
No doubt about it. Can't wait to keep following them this year. Seeing how they end up in district. Speaking of, they got a big contest coming up next Tuesday. Orangefield travels to Kuntz. number 14 in the state versus number 7 in the state. I know that gym was going to be rocking, man. I wish it was a Friday game. We'd try to make it down there, but can't wait to see that update and that score on Tuesday night. And we definitely need to find a way to get Coach Jew, possibly his staff, but definitely Coach Jew onto the show and get him on the episode very soon.
Yes, sir. I think we need to make that happen and just get some insight, on how he runs his program, kind of his career flow, and yeah, let's make that happen.
No doubt. Moving on to another big game that took place on Friday night right here in Shelby County. The Beckville Bearcats traveled down to Shelbyville to take on the Dragons, and everybody in East Texas knew that that game was going to be a barn burner, and it definitely didn't disappoint to the people that were in the stands and they're watching. Um, we were keeping up with the game. Couldn't find a live stream. We were keeping up with the scores, and Shelbyville was leading the entire first half. Seemed like they had control of the entire game, up 12 at halftime, 29-17. And the very next update we got was Beckville up by four, end of the third, 37-33.
Yeah, yeah, and we watched the stream of Shelbyville and Timpson, and
Hmm.
we saw what they did, getting a huge win. Another thing that we had talked about on the last episode was in that district, Shelbyville's gonna have a chance to, see Beckville twice, see Timpson twice, and get a big win that can catapult them into the top 25. And um, lo and
Yeah.
behold, they see them both in the same week, and uh, take care of business against Timpson on Tuesday, and then they're up 12 at halftime against Beckville, and it's like, oh man, they're about to get two top five wins in one
Yeah,
week.
that's real. Hmm.
And then Beckville, they've got a good squad, they got a good team. They got size, they have star ability in Mr. Williams. They got guard play with Williams and Prince. Um, and they got the 6'4" and a 6'5", so they have a solid team, and I guess they kind of just wore Shelbyville down in that second half, kind of got their feet up under them, and ended up coming out with that win. But Shelbyville did split with the number 4 and 5 team in the state in 2A. So I'm a jump ahead of you. I bet you got this on your notes too. I'm predicting that they will be in the top 25 when the rankings come out next week.
They better be in the top 25. And that's definitely in the note. Shelbyville, we talked about them last week. Like you said, a team to keep your eye on and a team that we thought should be in the top 25, but they would definitely have a chance to get there. And I guess we didn't realize it would happen in one week, them playing two top five teams. But Coach Wager had those guys ready to go, locked in, and gave Timpson everything they wanted. Got a win in Timpson. That's a big thing right there. I don't think Timpson ain't
Right.
lost a home game in a couple years. So they went over there and stole one in Timpson. And then to have Beckville on the ropes at home, man, they playing some good basketball. You just spoke about Beckville. Another thing that they have on top of the bigs, on top of the guard play, and on top of the stud Williams, they've been there, man. They've been there. They've done it. They've been to the regional tournament the last couple of years, so it's not new to them. They
Right.
played a lot of basketball and they don't panic. They know what it takes. They know basketball is a game of runs, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna go on us a big run." They went on one, and man, they ended up winning the game by 15 points. So you're down 12 at halftime, and end up winning by 15. So shout out to that entire district, man. They're playing some really good basketball over there.
Yes, sir. No doubt. No doubt.
We'll go to another 2A district, and Martins Mill had a couple big games this week, and they lost at the buzzer to 4A Jacksonville, and then they turned around and had a ranked game against number 20 Frankston, and they gave Frankston all they wanted, man.
Frankston's number 20. you
Hmm.
you see a separation, and they say it's level to this. Well, Martinsville showed Frankston that it's level to this, and one thing that I mentioned about coach's team over there in Martinsville is they get after you and they defend. And you saw it based on this score. Frankston scored 23 points. Um,
23.
yeah, they get down, they guard, they keep the ball in front. They're not getting beat by straight line drives, and they will. I mean, the way that they play defense, it is exposing. If you
Mm-hmm.
have flaws, then you are going to see those flaws after you get off the court with Marge Meal. And so, shout out to Coach Jenkins and, kind of what they're doing over there and what they proved by beating a top 20 team by 26 and holding them to 23 points.
Yes, sir. And that moves them to 1-0 in district. That's another district everybody needs to keep an eye on in this area. You got Martinsville, LaPointer, and Frankston, all three ranked in the top 20. They'll be going at it to see who's going to be crowned the district champ over there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One thing we did not mention when we talked about Shelbyville and the big win that they got was Coach Wager over there for the Dragons. He's doing a phenomenal job, and I watched that game and I told a few coaches I was like, I saw some coaching going on that Shelbyville sideline, and they had a plan. Sometimes that's the thing about a plan too, though. As a coach, you can game plan, you can come with your best strategy, and some games it don't work. But when that strategy works, as it did for Shelbyville on Tuesday, it's a beautiful thing to watch. It's a work of art, and they got the ball out of Buss's hands as he's crossing half court. It's one thing to try to step over and help when he's already past the free throw line. At that point, Buss is too good of a player.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
And yeah, you in trouble. But no, they had a plan, and it just some guys didn't make a couple of shots for Timpson, and Shelbyville got ahead, and now you start to press, and those guys that have to now become the first and second options that are used to being the third and fourth options. Now we see what you made of and what you got. And Shelbyville, they executed the game plan. The game plan worked out in their favor, and I'm interested to see what that rematch will look like down in Shelbyville when Timpson goes there, and how they will combat what Shelbyville did in game one. But I just wanted to shout out Coach Wager and the job that he's doing with the Dragons.
No doubt. He had a heck of a game plan, like you said. My takeaway from watching that game that Tuesday night was how bought in he had his kids to the game plan and how
Mm-hmm.
connected they all were. And you can see the relationship that he's building with those guys, and they were giving him everything that they had, and that's a something that a lot of people can't do. You can have the X's and O's, but you got to get these guys playing hard and giving everything they got. And not only did they have a game plan ready and prepared, they were bought in and they were locked in and they're playing hard for him. Let's jump into to 3A real quick. We won't stay here long because there won't be much shakeup. We still have, of course, Mount Pleasant, Chapel Hill, Hooks, Kuntz, all at 5, 6, and 7, respectively. Westwood and Tatum with blowout wins this week. Crockett took another L. That'll be interesting to see where Crockett falls to. And then Mahia with some big wins this week as well. And while we're in 3A, there's a guy that I want to talk about for our courtside crown of the next week, and that's Mount Pleasant Chapel Hill's Braden Buchanan. This young man is a 6'1" senior guard, and he is leading the number 5 Red Devil team to a blazing 24-1 start. Braden is averaging 23 points, 6 boards, and 3 dimes a game. We want to congratulate him for eclipsing the 2,000 point mark on his career. That is a huge milestone, and congratulations and hats off to that young man.
Yes, sir. Congratulations, Mr. Buchanan, scoring 2,000 points in a high school career. That's an incredible feat. So not not many people can say that they've done that. And he was also the Holiday Hoops Tournament MVP. So he's just keeping that momentum rolling and leading his team in a positive direction. So, man, I'm wanting to fast forward. I'm ready to get to that first week of March and look at these regional tournaments and watch these playoff runs. But a lot of good basketball being played. We're just in the mid of district, and so I just like hats off to you. But I can't wait to get to see them again as they're making their regional tournament push.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm with you. It's going to be extremely difficult to figure out which regional tournament to go to, man. We might have to hit day one of one regional tournament and try to catch two finals or something because it's going
Oh
to be
yeah,
some
we
really
we
good
will probably
basketball.
split up and watch different ones. Like it's gonna be too good of basketball if we just try to stay together. So we gonna get out and see a few. Speaking of performances and individuals, we talked about him last week. I know we put out a clip on him, but I will mention, what is your career high, AC? What's your
My
career
career
high for
high,
scoring as in a high school game? What's the most points you scored?
man, you don't have to put me on the spot like that. I
Uh,
was a point man.
yeah,
My
well,
job was to
we
get
got
the
to put
ball
on
to
the
my 6'8" post. No, hey, a high school varsity basketball game, man. I'm 28. I've never eclipsed 30.
Never scored 30. That's not bad. 28 is pretty good. I'll give you your flowers.
What's
I
yours?
went
You
on
you went playing college basketball. You did all this. Come on. What was your
oh
career high in high school?
well,
What was your career high period?
high school. Well, we count a little dribbler. We gonna count a little dribbler too.
No, we ain't going down there 'cause I was going crazy on. Hey, I played a little freshman for before
uh,
Coach Daniels moved me up, and I was going crazy. I was in the 40s then. But we're gonna
I
go
scored
high school
38.
varsity basketball. 38.
38
Wow.
was my career high, and that was, I believe, my junior year. I scored 38. And so, young man, Mr. Bryant out of Palestine Westwood scored 46 points. Freshman. Now remember, we talked about him last week. A freshman has scored 46 points in a high school varsity basketball game as a freshman. My goodness, I can't wait to
I
see
can't
it.
even
I
wrap my
can't wait to
mind
see his
around
career. I can't wait to see it happen. But I just
it.
wanted to
Yeah.
mention that real quick. We'll move on and get into um, some more of these teams and rankings and get this thing wrapped up. Um,
Let's go ahead and jump to let's mention some teams that we haven't talked about here before. Um, as you can tell, we normally stay down in classifications. 4A, we rarely get up to the 5A and 6A level. We prefer 2A and 3A because there's a lot of good East Texas basketball going on at those levels. But at the 5A level, there are a couple teams that we got to mention. And let's start with Longview. When you mention the
yes,
name
sir.
Longview, you are normally thinking football. You're
Football
thinking
state championships.
the
Yes, sir.
powerhouse football, Texas football at its best. But these guys are 22-2 on the hardwood, and they just beat number 17 in 5A Mount Pleasant in a huge district contest to jump to 5-0 in district, and of course, like we said, 22-2 on the year.
Well, I we got to start talking about it. Like, big
Mhm.
school basketball, Longview, and the rival. I guess you would call this a rivalry. I'm not from either of these communities, but I know they normally play deep into the playoffs, and sometimes they meet up with each other. On the flip side of Longview, you got Lufkin,
Yes, sir,
who
Coach McManus.
when you mention the Lufkin name, you think automatically Reggie McNeil, Javorski Lane, and Mr. Polk. Shout out to
I was
Mr.
going to say
Polk,
the Texas
Jalen Polk.
fan.
Yeah,
He killed us.
yeah, he did. He did a number on us. Just declared for the NFL draft. But you think about those guys and players, but Coach JT McManus over there in Lufkin, they're putting together I won't say a special season because if you look at the record, they're 14-11. But when you look at those 11 losses, Coach McManus has scheduled a schedule of all
Mm-hmm.
schedules. He's going into the Dallas Fort Worth area playing those schools. He's going down into the Houston area tournaments and playing those schools. Like, he is not running from competition because I think he has a chance, and he knows he has a chance to make a deep run in the playoffs, and he wants to get that competition. So, they don't have the record of Longview, who's sitting at 22-2, but Lufkin has some high quality opponents on their schedule, and I look for them to win the district. They'll have a couple tough opponents, Huntsville, Nacogdoches, but I'm anxious to see that playoff run, and we will get those big schools some love too.
Speaking of Coach McManus, man, shout out to what he did not only for the game of basketball, but for East Texas basketball and putting tough competition on Lufkin's schedule. But not only did he put it on Lufkin's schedule, he brought that tough competition right into our backyard. And that's a big deal because you got Duncanville, basketball powerhouse. You have these perennial basketball teams from Arizona, from Louisiana, from different states, all coming to Lufkin, Texas, right here in deep East Texas, and playing some good basketball right in our backyard where we can go see it and go witness it and go experience it. And for those people to come here, that's just a big deal. So we appreciate Coach McManus for what he's doing for the game of basketball here in Beast, Texas.
Right, right. No, that is huge. Him and teaming up with Glenn Smith, who had the Hoop Fest, has been going for a few years now, based it mainly out of that DFW area, and Glenn is growing that and expanding it out to different parts of Texas. And it's like you say, shout out to Coach McManus for having that vision and the beautiful palace Coliseum, Taj Mahal of high school basketball. That is Lufkin High School's new event center over there. That's a nice place to have an event like this at, and showing what East Texas hoops can be. So yeah, Coach McManus, hats off to you and your team over there for uh, kind of lighting the path for what we can offer here.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And before we close this segment, well, one school in particular. Last week we shouted out Shelbyville. We have a potential to be in the top 25. They came out and showed it this week. There's another team that's on our radar that we think is going to make some moves here in the following week, and they are getting active and they are playing some really good basketball, and that is the St. Augustine Wolves.
Let me mention that last year in that district that St. Augustine's in, the Corrigan Camden Bulldogs pretty much ran away with the district. Nobody really gave them very much competition in district. They went undefeated. They went into the playoffs as the number one seed, and they were really confident in themselves and looking for a deep playoff run. Um, but they were upset in the first round last year. But coming into this year, I think that everybody pretty much thought it would be the same thing. Corrigan would just run over all of the teams that they played in district, go in as the number one seed, and then get tested in the playoffs. Well, this past week, the St. Augustine Wolves and Coach Randall down there, I texted him after the game and told him, congratulations on the big win. Very humble guy, does things the right way. I'm super excited for him and his young Wolves team getting that big win and staying undefeated and being first place in district after that win. Just excited for them. We had the chance to coach a couple of those guys this summer, D Renfro and Max Renfro. And I said that young St. Augustine Wolves team, because they are true freshmen. And,
Hmm.
they have a couple of sophomores and juniors on that team. So St. Augustine basketball, they've had a history of being successful and making runs, and I think they've got a good core of guys for the next 2 or 3 years that they can make another one of those runs. So I think they're already ahead of schedule. with beating that Corrigan team, getting that win. If they can find a way to win district this year, man, the next 2 or 3 years, we could be seeing St. Augustine possibly down at the regional and state tournament. So definitely excited about the Wolves down there and Coach Randall.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you hit it on the head. SA was very well known. Coach Barnes did a great job down there putting them on the map for the game of basketball, and then now they're back. And one thing a lot of people need to know about Coach Randall, being in East Texas for a while, you saw that guy pay his dues. He was Coach
Yes,
Barnes'
sir.
assistant for years, years upon years, and now and he was loyal, loyal to coach, to his
Right.
head coach, loyal to the program, and now he's gotten his shot and he's taking advantage of it. So shout out to Coach Randall down in St. Augustine. Hats off to you, to your program, and to those kids. That was a big win. Just hope they can keep it rolling well on into the playoffs. Because, like you said, they're basically playing with house money this year. They were
Right.
young, not much was expected of them outside of their program. And now, oh snap, they beat Corrigan, the team that won district, ran away with it undefeated last year. And now people's eyes are open, and hey man, good luck to those guys, and can't wait to see what the future holds for that program.
Hey, speaking of people that we coached this summer, one young man that we coached that kind of took over our team, and I've been watching him play since he was a freshman here in center, and I knew he had a little game to him, but I didn't know how special he was until this summer and being around him every week. Um, Timothy Johnson out of Center High School. Center got two big wins this week. They went on the road and got a win at Kilgore. Took care of Henderson at home, and you were at those games, so you can speak more to it. But I heard from multiple people that he had stretches of both of those games where he just kind of put the team on his back and did the things that we saw him doing against 5A and 6A school competition this summer, and scoring the ball in a variety of different ways. So speak a little bit about we call him T baby, but speak a
T
little bit about
baby.
Timothy.
Hey, before I get into T baby, let's go ahead and plug in. Shout out to the Cave, our AAU program, started by yours truly, Coach Marlon Cloudy and Miss Felicia Thompson, right here out of Shelby County, East Texas, right here out of Center, Texas, to be exact. And man, we were blessed this past year. We just we jumped in head first, really no idea what we were doing, and we were very fortunate to get not one, not two, but three of some of the best guards in Shelby County with DJ Barnes out of Shelbyville, JJ Garner, who unfortunately tore his ACL and is not able to play for Timpson right now, and the guy we just mentioned, T Baby. We had all three of them on one team. It was hard to defend us. But T Baby, I got to go to the game Tuesday night against Henderson. T Baby said, "Hey, I'm taking this game over." Big plays on both ends of the floor. Not only is he scoring the basketball, but he's getting deflections, he's getting steals, and he's getting other people involved.
And take
Um,
charges. Like that's
and
the thing.
taking charges.
You
If
take
you give
charges as
yourself
a star, man. That is a big thing, and I'm gonna just say, it, college coaches should take notice of that.
no doubt, that speaks to coaching as well, Coach Harrison. And I watched that as a coach. If you can get your star player, like you said, to buy in defensively and sell their body for the team, that's a huge deal. Now you can get everybody else on board and hold them accountable. So he's doing it on both ends of the floor. We were watching the live stream Friday. Kilgore was giving them everything they wanted. Center give them something back, and T Baby just took over. 23 points, 5 rebounds, multiple assists. So Timothy is a ball player, and
Yeah,
like you said,
yeah,
college coaches definitely need to take notice.
right. And I'm gonna plug this in. I want you to add. I saw you. You added the little highlights clip, and you do the voiceovers. Man, that's a great addition to this podcast. But yeah, I want you to plug this in. I was blessed to be able to go and play college basketball on a scholarship. The night that I received the scholarship to Tarleton, the offer from Tarleton, which is where I eventually chose to go. The head coach and assistant coach were there at the game, and I want to say I made 7 or 8 threes that night, and I'm thinking the whole time during the recruitment process that they saw me hit that many threes, and that's why they wanted me. Well, when I got to campus, we had our first drill where we were taking charges and practice taking charges. That's the day that Coach Reisman, Lon Reisman, shout out to my college coach at Tarleton, who's going into retirement this year. He said that they offered me that night because they saw me take a charge. And it might have been on the charge I took at Trinity Valley, but they saw that, and that's what the college coach noticed and made him say, okay, yeah, we want him in our program. So, you got high school basketball players, if y'all happen to hear this podcast, I will recommend do the things that don't show up in the stat sheet, that don't get you on the highlight reel. Like taking charges, because you never know who's going to be watching and what they watching for. So do everything in the game that can separate you from somebody who might be of equivalent talent level.
There it is, man. And I hope you young athletes, young guys that are aspiring to be college basketball players, heard that and can take heed to that. With that being said, man, we're gonna go ahead and sign out this episode of Cloudy Courtside Chat. Appreciate you joining me, brother.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one.